Hello, everyone. My name is Roy, your local Splatoon interview addict. I'm joined here with Fern. Fern, could you say hello to the people?
Hello, my name is Fern. I'm a competitive Nautilus player. I play for a team called DPS only, and I'm mostly an aim player.
Now, before we get into maybe what you're most known for, which is aim and encouraging people to improve that side of playing comp Splatoon. How did you get into Splatoon?
So I had Splatoon from I think like 2018, like when I got a Switch the first time, and I put in like 200 hours into it. Um, and then they added Nintendo Switch Online, and I couldn't play the game until 2020. But I was too busy playing Overwatch. So I started playing Splatoon like competitively in kind of like really early 2021, late 2020. So I've been a competitive player for about 5 years.
About 5 years, yeah, but the same length as me. How many teams have you been on in that time span? Have you been a team hopper, or have you kind of stuck around with the same people?
Um, I've been on three long-term teams. Um, Two teams I captained, and then one I was on just for a long period of time. And now my own, and now a fourth one that I am captaining at the moment. But there's been every time I leave a team, there's a long FA period generally.
Yeah,
So
there
mostly
always
three
is.
teams, a few smaller ones like in between. But really just the three to four that I count.
So with that kind of long history of playing the game and jumping from team to team, having a lot of experience, what about the aspect of aim interests you when it comes to Splatoon?
Um, I think I just enjoy. First off, I'm good at it at now, so it's fun. I watch a lot of esports and like um in general, not just Splatoon, and I think like the the sort of flashiness or like the best players have really good mechanics and the sort of I wanted to sort of have really good mechanics in turn. Um and I also just enjoy it a lot. Like it's fun to clip people, I think.
Where do you think the scene is in terms of aim compared to like other esports?
Um so I think in terms of other esports, I think we are behind, but it makes sense that we're behind because if you think about like the input method, um, I think Splatoon is basically like the first esport to have like gyro aim be like the main thing. Um, and keyboard and mouse shooters have been around for like 20 like plus years or something, like decades at this point. And Splatoon has been around for 10 and is also not an extremely like has aspects that are not extremely mechanically demanding to the extent that like CS:GO would be. So I think we are behind the West a bit more so, but I think that it makes sense that we are.
Do you think to kind of talk more about like input method? Do you think the input method of Splatoon being mostly gyro controls presents issues when it comes to learning aim?
Um, I don't really think so. I can admit I'm not a good keyboard and mouse player in most games, and like I don't know enough about the science to sort of argue whether or not gyro is better or worse. Um, I think the general, not Splatoon public, but public gamer consensus is that motion is bad. I think they're over exaggerating. But like I, it's not. Um, I don't think it's better than keyboard and mouse by any means, but I think it's like certainly comparable. So like I think for the level of aim the scene is at, I don't think it offers a big dis. I think it's harder to learn it's certainly less intuitive. Everyone's used a mouse, but like you hand someone a Switch Pro controller and like they're gonna take a while to not be floundering around.
Hmm.
So it's not, I wouldn't say it's like high end worse, maybe. Certainly the end we're at. Like the level we're at, I don't think it's worse than keyboard and mouse, but it's definitely harder to learn.
I think definitely the aspect of actually like picking up a controller for the first time. Anytime I hand my friends a controller, like in real life, and they've never touched Splatoon, and they feel motion, they like they get like stun locked.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Um, when it comes to like the like level at which different skills present themselves in the scene, to me, from my perspective, it seems like aim is one of the ones people prioritize less, like compared to other games and compared to other skills within Splatoon. Why do you think that's the case?
Um, well, I think like there are a lot of things that you kind of don't have to aim for. I am the biggest AoE weapon hater probably in the whole scene. Um, I think we should remove them all from the game. But they are in the game at the moment, and like if you have a Luna Blaster, you're not really gonna spend that much time grinding your mechanics. Um, so even if you have something like a Dreadringer or something like an Aerospray, like you're not gonna spend a lot of time grinding your mechanics. There was this I saw as a Blue Sky post from Ziff, the who's on HGFG, like if someone who watching this doesn't know who Ziff is, sort of a high level coach, competitive support player. Um, and he was saying that he thinks Splatoon is like akin to a fighting game where you reach like a mechanical baseline and then however how your whether you win or lose fights is based off your decision making. And I'm like, maybe maybe if you play like certainly if you play like Octobrush. If you play Octobrush, I think there's a mechanical level where you're basically not getting any benefit. Um, maybe if you, not to dig into it, but like maybe if you play Junior, and there is a mechanical baseline to some extent, but I still think if you had better aim, you'd be winning more fights on Junior. And for my position, I don't really think there is a mechanical baseline. I could be winning more fights if I had better aim. Like, um, anyone would on any weapon, even the ones where you have a hitbox the size of the sun. So I would pretty much disagree with that standpoint. I think it's a thing people think is not very important. Um, I think there's reasons why the game makes them think that, but the like that perspective of the game like doesn't like it's not actually necessary to have good aim past a certain level, I think is kind of silly because of course it is. Of course it's beneficial. Like I don't think there's an argument against having better aim is better. Um that it like holds water to any reasonable extent.
Do you so you mentioned like AoE weapons and weapons that require aim to different like levels. Because again, you
Mhm.
mentioned if you have a Luna Blaster, your aim isn't as important as if you're holding an E-liter. What players do you
Mhm.
think benefit the most from drilling aim?
So I actually have like a I have a theory about why some weapons make create better aim players. And like I think the people who and it has something to do with main strafing, but I think the people who benefit most are slower weapons, and weapons that kind of have to stand still a lot. Um, so generally, it's um, it's at least in my experience, I think the weapon classes that give you the best aim or like force you to have better aim are Splatlings. Splatlings and Charger players, I think Charger players is kind of obvious. Um, I think rollers, specifically Carbon and uh Carbon and V-Roller. Um Slusher, but Slusher is like so weird that I kind of consider it a separate thing from AIM almost. Um I don't think there's anything else in the world of video games that is exactly akin to Slusher. Um and dualies mostly.
You
And then
mentioned
some shooters because you know.
you mentioned like the I think a lot of the quirkiness of Splatoon is down to like the different kinds of weapon projectiles you can have. Where like there's a fair
Yeah.
amount of weapons that are just bullet weapons. You have your shooters, you have your dualies, you have your splatlings. But then there's stuff like Slosher, which like how do you like even begin to talk about Slosher aim in like in a community where like all of our esports language is about like how far does this AK-47 shoot? What's its spread pattern? Like
No, I don't think you can explain Slusher to someone who plays like Valorant. I don't think it would make sense. Um,
how much do you think because I suppose we should talk about like how people would most know you for, which is your kind of big why you should aim drill video. Why did you feel the
yeah.
need to create that? It's a pretty in depth and lengthy video for a topic.
So the two main reasons. The first one was I I was watching I watch a lot of Splatoon, like mostly POVs, because I have like mostly POV Splatoon players of like tournaments and such. And I was like, I was eventually I was getting frustrated that I, it seemed to me that I had better mechanics than people who were on paper better than me, and who played weapons that like should sort of make them have better aim. Like, and I was looking at people at like some like relatively high level players and being like, it's kind of crazy that you're not hitting these shots given your position within the scene. Um, and so I was like, I like it's weird. Not that it's like not in sort of a flaming way. It's just that like it's weird that these people don't have better aim. Like, and I'm like, when I think it's pretty evident that it would be better for them. Um, and the second main reason was that I had to convince multiple Splatoon players that aim training was a real thing, that works. One of them being one of my former teammates and current teammate, Droid. The other one being someone who plays a charger weapon, and I or in at the time played a charger, and it was like it's practicing your aim would make your aim better, um, and you don't believe that. So it was sort of those main two reasons. I have like I basically split the video up into two sections in the service of that being like here's why aim training is real and here's how I do it. Um and yeah, those are really the main motivations. It was kind of spite like these people should have better aim. And then also disbelief that I Splatoon players didn't believe that aim training was real in a shooter game.
I think our community has a really strange relationship with it, where I think because we lack kind of other like built-in aim training modes like in most shooters, we lack like
Mhm.
an aim training range. Do you think like do you think the absence of that in like in a more traditional form like you have in something like Valorant is partly to blame for people just like not seeing the value in them?
Um, I think kind of. Um, on some level, Valorant's like games like Valorant and Overwatch. Overwatch doesn't have an inbuilt aim trainer really any better than Splatoon does. It has like a custom games which you can make aim trainers in, but like um I think it's more maybe more impactful that there is no aim trainer on the Switch, which I think is obscene. The fact that no one Aim Labs hasn't even tried to port their game onto Switch is crazy. Um, I would be the first person on Aim Labs Switch if it happens. But yeah, I think it's partially that. I think it's partially that like you can there are a lot of weapons where you can get away with not having aim enough that it maybe might not be apparent that like there's lots of stuff you could be doing if you had better aim. Um Maybe it's because Splatoon 2 was like so special focused and it's like individual playmaking power wasn't like the biggest thing in the world. But yeah, I don't I think our honestly, I think our training room is like not bad for I've like done all of my aim training in the training room and like I think you can get to a relatively high level with it um if you like kind of make it work for you. Um but yeah, I that may be a part is that like it's not a thing the game really encourages you to do. Uh but I don't know if that's the main reason.
You mentioned there like making the training room work for you, like using the tools that we do have rather than like trying to look for
Mhm.
something that doesn't exist within the game. How can people make the training room work as an effective place to drill aim?
Um I think you spend a lot of time on the moving domain. Uh That's my main. I think people ought to aim train. One thing I do, I aim train on weapons that I play Nautilus, but I do most of my drills on bamboo and uh Squiffer because they're more precise. I think the thing that the training room is kind of lacking is that in an aim trainer like Aim Labs or Kovacs, the targets will sort of spawn randomly and move randomly, and you kind of can't get that. Like you, in a way, always know where all the targets are,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you've been doing it for a while. So you kind of just have to make yourself do that randomness, and try to like, I think if you do the same drill every time, you're gonna get less um value out of it than doing 10 different variations every time, or like 10 different variations one time, then 10 other different variations a different time. Um, so you kind of have to insert that randomness yourself. That's like a little bit, I talk about it a little bit of my video, but probably not enough. Um, but that's sort of one of the things I was trying to replicate when thinking about how I did my drills is how can you make how can you use these targets you have and make them into and use them in a way sort of akin to what you would do in a name trainer. Because I don't really think you can get. I think if I had Kovacs, if I was doing had been doing like Kovacs practice the whole time instead of switch practice, I would probably be better. Um, and so would anyone else. But this is kind of the situation we're in. I just hope someone ports a name trainer on the Switch too. I would pay too much money for one of those.
There is there is a Splatoon aim trainer, Squid Aimer. What's your
Mm.
opinion on that? Do you think it's a useful tool that people should use? What's your stance on it?
So I don't really use Squid Gamer myself. I tried it once before, but I had an older and not good computer that couldn't really run it very well. I don't nec I would say from what I've used of it, it kind of has a weird feel to it. Um, it doesn't feel directly analogous. I've heard someone has said to me that it might be based on Splatoon 2, and I don't know if that's like the case or not. Um, if that is, that would sort of explain why the feel is weird. If not, then uh, um, then I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I have also heard that apparently you can get motion working on Kovacs, although it's not as good as switch motion. It kind of converts. Um, I've been told that. So I really probably ought to try um, either Squid Aimer or Kovacs again. I imagine it would be a good video concept. But So maybe I'll do that in the future. For now, I'm kind of just sticking to what I have. It seems to be working. But if I feel like I need to, if I might keep plateauing a bit, I think I might try to move on to one of those like dedicated aim trainers. So they're definitely useful, but I would say maybe they're not necessary, I don't think. If you want to practice your aim and just do drills in the training room, it'll work for you to some level.
If people do wanna go about drills, and you have kind of a good guide on showcasing good aim drills, but if they're playing a weird weapon, say they're playing Stamper, they're playing Slosher, they're playing a weapon that doesn't fire normal bullets or is just a bit funky in how it operates because it is Splatoon at the end of the day. How do you think people can go about finding good aim drills that work for them and their weapon and their play style and push the limits of their aim while being maybe a little unconventional?
I think if you play Slosher, you should pull up Jordan's VODs on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, and just watch what he does in between games. Um, and do that. Uh, and sort of a similar thing to if you play a weird weapon, I would maybe watch what a top player is doing, like to keep themselves warm in between games. Um, I have been a Nautilus. I am like I'm so Nautilus like pilled that I can't play weapons with high shot velo without high shot velocity at this
Hmm.
point. Um, it like I don't know, my hands just don't work on other things. So I can't like I one thing I was worrying about when I made my video is like I can't really give advice on other things. Um, like if you don't play V-Dually or Nautilus, it's like I don't know what I'm gonna help you with. But the but I don't really think it's worth trying to figure out what kind of shots you can't hit in your games or what kind of shots you normally struggle with. If you're like a Stamper player and you can't hit your direct, or you can't hit like wide flicks, um, I would say go into the training room, pick a weapon that's precise, and just try to replicate those kind of shots as best you can. I mean, it's kind of hard on some things, especially Stamper. I kind of don't know what you're doing, what exactly you should do. Um, I've gotten comments before about how to do drills on Stamper, and I've just sort of said like maybe try doing some drills with Stamper because I think the projectile speed might play a role. Um, some of like the drills I would normally do. That's probably what I would do if I was practicing Stamper for some reason. But yeah, it's definitely just about like figuring out what shots are difficult for you and try.
I think I lost you again.
Oh, I'd stop talking after the replicate those, if that's
It's
unless I was out for more than that.
no, it's good. You just cut off at the end of the last sentence, so just in case you're
All right.
trying to, and then you stop speaking.
Mm.
But don't worry about it. With I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, with like noticing, oh, I'm missing these types of shots. That's something I've noticed in my own gameplay sometimes, like where I mostly played Wiper when I used to play the game a lot. And I'd notice like, oh, I can't hit like max range verticals like consistently at all. What
Mhm.
like at what point is it better to make an aim drill and try to hit like try to in the case of Wiper like hit those max range verticals in different scenarios and try and mix it up and drill that versus like loading up open and setting the goal, okay, I don't care about how this game goes, my one goal is to like spam max range verticals and just like try and hit everything I can.
Okay, so I have I think that practicing your aim in open, like putting on max QR and like running it down and just trying to fight people to practice your aim is kind of stupid. Um on some level I think it makes sense to like I understand the idea of wanting to train like practice against like real players. Um but just in terms of like practice efficiency, I think it makes no sense. Um, you're going to spend in an aim trainer or like in an aim trainer, as in like when you're doing aim drills, you're spending like the practice you're getting is like so much more concentrated, and like you can really isolate what specifically you want to do. Like, um, even if you go into a game thinking I'm only gonna do max range verticals, it's like at some point you're gonna be not doing max range verticals, or you're gonna be spending time like painting zone or whatever, and like you don't have to do that in an aim drill. Um, the way I think about it is like I'm like I also play an instrument, and if I was going to practice, uh, let's say like really fast like 16 note scales. I wouldn't go and play a concerto or like a movement that has 16 note scales in them and just play that 20 times and be like, "Well, I practiced it." I just play a bunch of those 16 note sections over and over and over. Because like why would I play the extra stuff when I only care about this? Um so I really think every time actually that was another sort of minor reason why I made the um my intro videos, I was like, it's stupid to go into open and to play open to work on your aim. I don't think it makes sense. Um, so I would say if you have an aim problem, you shouldn't just run it down and open. You should do an aim drill for it. Um, I'm sure there are people that would disagree with this. Uh, I feel like it's efficient. It's like the practice is efficient, is more efficient, more isolated. I think if we had a real aim trainer, I would be like 100%. You should do aim training. It's going to be better for you than trying to practice the skill in game. Um, but since we don't, I think it's like 80, 90. You should practice it on an aim trainer.
It's just about pure like potency and you're literally doing the action you're practicing more in the test
Yeah.
room than you would be in an open game or whatever.
Yeah, you're just getting more reps in.
Makes total sense. Okay. Um, do you have anything you'd like to bring up or you'd like to say to the people before we call it here?
I think we should remove blasters from the game.
I'm gonna add like number one blaster hater to the title because I have a few
Oh,
characters
please.
left. Yeah,
I
yeah,
am.
yeah. Okay, Fern, where can the people find you if they're interested in finding out more about
Um,
learning to aim?
You can find me at remixedfern.bsky.social and my YouTube videos where I talk about aim stuff and also just posting Nautilus are at remixedfern_Nautilus on YouTube. So please find me there. And I also stream on Twitch, remixedfern. So
I'll be sure to link
all
all
there.
of those, and especially the big video that you made on aim drills. I know
Oh yes,
a lot of my friends who are coaches, I adore the video, and you recommend it every
oh,
time
that's
they
good to
can.
hear.
So yeah,
Wonderful. That's great.
yeah, it really is. When I told a couple of them that I'd be interviewing them, and they'd be like, that's the guy who made the aim video."
It is funny. Like sometimes when I meet new Splatoon people, they're like, "You're the aim drill guy," which I'm glad is my reputation.
It's good to have a niche. The blaster hating aim drill guy.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your time, Fern, and thanks everyone at home for watching.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.